Settle in our knowledge and conversations, don't make them yours. What we run is Olympic, not your hands on the torch. Take it easy like Sundays on the porch. MediaScope when you emotionally broke. Settle in our knowledge and conversations, don't make them yours. What we run is Olympic, not your hands on the torch. Take it easy like Sundays on the porch. Now you can walk the brand with no award toys. This culture meets the art. Podcast with the heart and essence of the growth, the powers in the people. Without you, we ain't equal. What we lack is ego. We're back now, so here we go. Run the show like Arsenio. Episodic, our rituals, minds change to visual. Representation of our nation and its differences. Some explanation of our uniqueness and innocence. Mass media's intention is to desensitize. We raise the wise, and knowledge is power. Without it, we turn coward and proud of a known product. Like we could take it with us. I wish the greats were still alive and we're here with us, but it is what it is. We're left here to share our gift, and that's precisely what we'll do with it. Shape shift and fluidly, we can pass this test and still in our unity, elevated through stress. Yes, MediaScope when you emotionally broke. Settle in our knowledge and conversations, don't make them yours. What we run is Olympic, not your hands on the torch. Take it easy like Sundays on the porch.
Oh, I just had to let it run a little bit longer because I so do love the theme song. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the livest media, tech, and pop culture party in the land. This is MediaScope, and that would be all things media, tech, and pop culture. How about I show that to you? There we go. All things media, tech, and pop culture. In case you don't know who I am because you've never been here before, this is your first time, I welcome you to the MediaScope Massive. My name is Tachi, media professor, filmmaker, media content producer, also a journalist. We're here every week on Wednesdays, 6 p.m.-ish Eastern time. Listen, I am going to get better. We're going to start to be on time. 9 years of not being on time, and you want me to be on time this year. I'm trying, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm excited because we have a another guest. We're chapter 9 is starting off with a good start. 3 guests in 3 weeks. That's wonderful. But let me say hello to some folks. First of all, let's see. Who do we have? Over on the Instagram side, we've got Creed's Classy Bling. Hello. She said, finally catching a broadcast. Well, I'm glad to have you here. Also, Mangelo is here. What's up, Michelangelo? It is good to have you. Marisa is here. The queen of media herself. Perk Tudor, I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome. Kim Haddad, hello to you. Square Biz, how are you? Opie Dwan, Carlos Felix. What's up, Carlos Felix? I love his name. It's so amazing. Randy, all the way from Honolulu, Hawaii. Welcome. It is good to see you. JP Lynchpin is also joining us on the Instagram side. Morgan and Charlene, Moonfire Towerware. I like that. That's very cool. Thank you all so much for being here, and I will continue to acknowledge you as we go on. First of all, let me say hello to you all. Let me know where you're watching from. If you, most of you, a lot of you, I think I know, but please, if I've never seen you before, or even if you just want to put where you're watching from, put in where you're watching from and what the weather is like where you are. Hopefully there's no snow anywhere. Black Debutante Society is here. Hello, Dr. Harris. How are you? It is wonderful to see you. Hey, Perk Tudor, good to see you. Fantastic. Well, we are going to get to it. So we've got people that are streaming in that will start to be coming in. Let me say hello to everybody who is watching. If you are watching on YouTube, how are you? We're on 2 YouTubes. Welcome. If you happen to be, well, I'll put that up later. But if you happen to be watching on the Bookface, welcome, Bookface. It's good to see you. LinkedIn, how are you? It's wonderful to see you. LinkedIn, I know sometimes the comments don't populate and I have to look physically. So I will look physically to see if anybody is making any kind of comments. Of course, Instagram is here. What's up, Instagram? And if you happen to be listening tomorrow at 2 p.m. on Gospel 107.1 FM in Nassau, Bahamas, and the rest of the Caribbean, we wish you a multitude of blessings. Yes, still have to find a song for you, but I'm so happy to be back with my Gospel 107.1 family. And you know what? I am going to take this down, and we've got some other things. So if you happen to be watching on YouTube, subscribe, either the Indie Soup YouTube or my YouTube, Dr. Tachi. Subscribe to both, huh? Do us a favor. Subscribe to both. We'd love to have you as part of the family over there. And that is it. But what we're going to do now is get ready to bring on friend to the show, the live streaming aficionado himself. I put live streaming specialist because I think I like that. I didn't ask him, but I like that. So we are going to get ready to bring him on after this. We'll be back. Wait, let me not lie. There we go. After this, here we go. Ross Brand, the man.
I always wait to see what the intro music's going to be. You changed it up from last year. I thought last year I had found my theme song to take with me wherever I go. I mean, it's good too, but I'm always waiting to see what she's going to have for me when I'm on
You know
the
what?
show.
I think I get bored easily. So I feel you know what I'm talking about. Like, for example, when you're editing, you can
Right.
feel when you're supposed to switch to the next shot or feel when there needs to be a
Right.
change. That's what I do with this. I feel when there's supposed to be a change. Obviously, the theme music has been the same for a while, but I'm like, it's time for a change for the guest intro. So hopefully it's to your liking, sir.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Thanks so much for having me back. Congratulations on 9 years. I mean, you and I both, I think, started somewhere around the same time. So we're both heading towards 10 years in this new media live streaming thing. I think you started probably your show a little bit before I did, but we're on the same schedule.
Maybe a tiny bit. Maybe it was a couple of months. And then I don't even remember where we met now at this point.
I think we followed each other, and like you would drop into some of my shows,
Yeah.
on Facebook Live. I would drop into some of the MediaScopes. You were multi-streaming before we called it multi-streaming.
Because I was using two devices. Yeah.
So, and then you're in chapter 1 of the book this year, so
Yes. Yes. I was so excited about that. So I'm like, oh wow. I hope what I said was was poignant, because if that's the first thing, if people are like, what the hell is this? But I'm glad that I'm chapter 1. That was quite an honor. So you know what? Let's do this. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. So I'm Ross Brand. My company's Livestream Universe, and I've been live streaming since 2015. I've also got a series of books. This is the latest, 100 live streaming and digital media predictions. 4 volumes have been books. Before that, we did it as blog posts for about 5 years, and Dr. Tachi's been a part of it since the first few years. I believe she's been a part of it every year, certainly been in all the books. And my focus is basically those two areas: creating audio and video content and writing, publishing books.
Okay, so let's dive right into it. Before we get to all of these predictions and things, I want to know from you. I want you to tell the audience, why live streaming? Why should one consider live streaming? Having a live show, whatever. Why live?
All right, there's several things that live streaming has that nothing else has. Number one, in an hour of a live stream or a half an hour of live stream, you've created a half an hour to an hour of content. So it's the fastest way to create content, irrespective of whether you have a big live audience or not. Now you've got that content that you can repurpose in 7 to 15 different ways. That's number one. Number two, it's really the only medium that we have where that is interactive in real time. So your customers, your clients, your community can be a part of the show. They can ask you questions. You can provide information and answers and help to them. Also, they can come up with things about your guest or about the topic you're talking about that you didn't think of, and you bring it right into the show. So it's a very social part that really TV, radio, traditional audio podcasting doesn't have. So that's another advantage. And video's a scroll stopper. And even though live streams aren't shared as much as they were when it was a novelty, it's still a scroll stopper in social when you see that somebody's live and you say, I don't want to miss out on this. Let's see what they're talking about. Let's see what they're doing. There's still that interest level of breaking in. I could go on, but I think those are three main benefits of live streaming.
Okay, definitely. Those are definite benefits. You mentioned something about even if you don't have a big audience. Does it matter if you don't have a big audience?
Well, it's always better to have a big audience, right?
Okay.
But you know, it's always better to have a more active chat, to know. But realistically, you're creating content. So if you're a podcaster, a video creator, and you want to create content, you're doing an interview show like this, and you may be putting it out in different places in different ways. Why not also do it live and give the people who are watching at that live time, even if it's a small group of people, they have a chance to interact with you. So, you know, you only need one person to sell a product too, right? That can make a difference. So, you know, one client so it could be that person that spends time, you demonstrate something to them and they become a client or they buy a product and you've come away with something far more important than how big the audience was. But there's no other time that you can interact in the same way as you can on a live stream with, you know, people who aren't there with you.
Absolutely. There's something about live for me. I really, now I've always been a video person and a video editor, but when I found live, I was like, oh, I don't have to edit anymore. Who wants this? So for the longest time, my main thing was lives, and I didn't really do a lot of pre-recorded video where I had to edit. Now I do more of that, but still live is my primary, because that's another thing about live. It trains you to just do it. And there's no, oh, I messed that up, I got to go back. And I have a tendency sometimes to do that, sometimes when I know I'm pre-recording. But because I've been trained in live now, meaning I've been doing it for so long, I feel I have less takes than somebody who doesn't do live, because I don't have to go back, because I'm not going to edit that.
Right. And when I try and pre-record something, and especially when I have a guest, right? Let's say I'm pre-recording an interview because I can't do it live.
Okay.
And I'm going to go, okay, I want to knock this out in one time. And I guarantee you I'll fumble over the introduction, because in the back of my mind, I know I can redo it. And that is the worst thing. Now, I do my intros and I get my show started. I've been doing this for a long time. I do it off the top of my head. It usually comes out fine. But when I go to do it, when I'm pre-recording, I don't know if it's a lack of focus or it's the comfort that you don't have to get it right the first time. And part of it's feeling a little silly doing the intro and stuff in front of your guest, perhaps. So I just like being live better. It's like everything's in the moment, everything's for the show, and there's that energy level. And when you get used to having the live chat and the feedback, I just as a creator, it's kind of to me it's a higher skill for hosting. It's not necessarily a higher skill as a videographer, video creator, but my primary thing is hosting shows, conducting interviews, and the like. So for that, yeah, live, it can't get better than live, really.
It can't get better than live. Now, you actually come from the world of radio, or initially, right? Before podcasting and all of that. So you were doing live radio, correct?
Correct. I mean, I would record some things in the studio for some pieces and stuff, but essentially, you know, I was live several times a day. It was just second nature to me to go live.
Sorry to overtalk you. I'm just excited you're here. So what was the learning curve for you going from radio to live? And before you answer that, let me say hello to everybody who is joining in. You are here with Ross Brand, the man who, I mean, it's like the social media gods picked your name for you. Ross Brand, really? Wow, it's absolutely amazing.
When I was a kid, it didn't mean nobody talked about brands and personal brands and whatever. It's something that's come along in like the last 10, 15 years that it actually has become something more, and people think of it that way. But yeah, so when I got first started live streaming, I really didn't have a lot of experience with video.
Okay.
And so I set up a situation to where I felt like I was doing radio in a sense. To this day, I've never perfected the art of like continuously looking into the camera every time I'm delivering something. I'm obviously better than I was, 10 years ago. But when I started, I basically set up a radio talk show with a webcam propped on top of actually, it was the built-in webcam when I started. And I just sort of did what I did, but also realizing that it's a different medium, right? You realize that you have a live audience there, and it's a more social experience. When you do radio, you don't really, that there's listeners out there, but you don't know who they are, where they are, what they're thinking. I thought it was a lot of fun getting that feedback right away from people. I thought that was one of the coolest parts of it. And I started in Blab, which to this day,
that's where I met you. Okay, I'm like racking my brain. I'm like, no, we met somewhere, and I need to. It was Blab. Yes.
So to this day, there's been no platform that has the features that Blab did.
No.
That builds that kind of community amongst creators. And I don't know how long it would have been sustainable or not if they had handled everything to the best of their ability. Right. They kind of gave up on doing the things they needed to do to sustain it, or maybe they didn't have the money, or I don't know. We've all debated what went wrong and why it went wrong. But the point is, you could go in and people could open up a seat and you could jump right out of the audience into a seat, or you invite somebody. You could close the seats if you didn't want just anybody jumping in. But it was really a fun thing to be able to do a show like, say, like what we're doing now, right? And you talk to me for 45 minutes, and then you say, hey, I'm going to open it up. If you have a question for Ross, just jump right in and grab one of the two open seats and ask away. And then when the show ended, the conversation would continue once we turned off the recording, and there would be the post show and all. So there was a lot of social integration. You could share to Twitter. At that time, Twitter was the platform that everybody was on. And so it was really well integrated with sharing there. And that was another way to, let people know that you were live. But you just had this built-in audience, built-in discovery, lots of options, an unlimited guest list of people who you could have on who were doing interesting things and would bring something to the conversation. Would that work today with all of us on all these different platforms and multi-streaming? I don't know.
I was going to ask whether you thought something like that would work now. Blab was something else, but it's also a testament to the fact, and you all hear me say this all the time, that your entire social media strategy, your entire marketing strategy cannot be tied up on one platform, because Blab said, and it wasn't even that they just, went away and gave us warning. People were alive and they just pulled the plug, and we were like, wait, what? So they were just like, thank you very much. Get out.
That was the big lesson, I think, for a lot of creators from Blab, because absolutely. I treated Blab like it was my radio station, or, my show's on CBS. No, my show's on Blab, right? I mean, that's how I treated it. I didn't think about putting it elsewhere. Maybe I uploaded the recording to YouTube, but not in any strategic way, just to archive it, basically. And I don't know if that would work. What's interesting, I guess, is how new it all was then. You were seeing people that you were connected to on social that you'd never heard talk or laugh or say anything, that you were connected to on Twitter, maybe Facebook or some of the other platforms. And so that newness was a big part of it. And now you're watching them host talk shows and be guests on shows and share their thought leadership. I wonder how it would work today. I think we were all a lot a lot more unselfish then too. It was much more in the culture, and this continued into the early Facebook days, to share other people's content. Somebody went live, if you knew them, it was almost like an automatic. You would share it. You know, from Inside Blab, you would share it to Twitter. When Facebook Live came along, if you saw somebody you knew, you would share it immediately to your timeline, what have you. I think we've all become much more guarded about what goes on our timeline, and we know that our audiences are so bombarded with content that it's like, even my own content, I have to keep a lid on how much I put.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
you can only take like one Ross or two Ross posts a day at maximum on any platform. So if I share every person that I'm friends with who goes live, now you're getting 30 posts. I can't do that anymore.
It's too much. It waters down things, but that's the beauty of something like stories on Instagram, etc., where you can share it there. It disappears after 24 hours, and you've still shared out the things you believe in now. Here's what I don't do. I don't just share just because I like a person and I'm friends with the person. If you're sending me nonsense, but believe I'm not going to share it. If it's not aligning with what I believe, I'm not going to share it. That's your right to post it, but I don't have to reshare it. So, there's a lot. And then, back then, I sound like it was back in 1864. But back then, there was a smaller live stream community. So most of us knew each other. If you were live streaming, and there were so few commercial live streaming apps, if you were live streaming, probably you knew each other and you felt comfortable doing this. Now it's so wide that it's almost impossible to share everybody's stuff all the time.
And we would know when a troll came into the chat. It would be like, I know the 30 people, the 50 people, the 100 people,
Exactly.
and then here's a troll, and somebody would be kicking them out for you, or alerting
Yes.
you, or, saying, shut the seat, don't let them in.
Exactly. There's a troll in here. Get him out, kick him. I mean, people looked out for you. Now it's like, you just have to kind of deal with it. But, we'll get back to that in just a moment. Hang tight, Ross, because I want to welcome everybody else who is coming in. Welcome to the fold. This is MediaScope, all things media, tech, and pop culture. We have an amazing guest today. We have Ross Brad. But first, my name is Tachi, media professor, filmmaker, media content producer, also a journalist. If you've never been here before, welcome to the MediaScope Massive. I am so glad to have you here. Lots of folks here joining. Let's take a look at, hold on. Where are you? The comments. There you are. Okay. Ron Foster is here. How are you, Ron? He is wonderful. He has a show on Indie Soup. Welcome. Lauren Johnson is here. Good evening to you too, sis. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Also, we have Terry Johnson from Terry Johnson Online, who also has a show on Indie Soup. Welcome, Terry Johnson. It is great to have you, and more people are just joining in. Let's take a look at what's happening over on the gram. Beautiful Reflections is here, as is Bestie, my bestie. How are you? DJ SK, welcome in. Sweet Mama Midnights. Also, One Snow, One Ritz. How are you? Dr. Tonay, how are you? One of my grad school friends. Hello, hello. Miss Bespoke, how are you? It's good to see you. Blue Note is also here. Mellow Daily has joined us, and more people continue to join. And folks, if you have questions for Ross, please put it in the chat. I am going to look. Now, Instagram, you have to bear with me because, Instagram flies and it doesn't populate in our chat, but I will look periodically to see if you have any questions for him. So questions, please, please, please. And now let's go back to Ross. Ross, how are you?
Hey, we're back.
We're back. We're back. Oh, the food plane is here, and he says hello to you and I. What's up? What's up?
Hey, food plane.
And then
I gotta say a quick hi to Terry Johnson in the chat. I don't usually do that, but I mean, she goes back to the early Blab days
too
with us, and somebody who's been so consistent in creating content and supporting others over the years.
Absolutely. You know what? I don't know why nobody ever called us the blabbermouths. That's what they should have called, blabbers. We should have been the blabbermouths, but that's neither here nor there. It's over. Red is here, Rufus Hobson, who is also my co-station mate for Gospel 107. How are you, Rufus? Good to see you. And fun fact, he was actually one of my students before.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. When I taught at his university he went to, he was one of my students. So welcome in. It is good to see you. The blabbers. Blabbermouths. That's what we should have been. The blabbermouths.
There you go.
Because a lot of us were, listen, let me tell you, I don't know if you did, but there was a lot of stuff that I was supposed to have done that I did not do because of Blab. I'm telling you, I would be on there for hours and I would have to force myself away. And it's that level of interaction. There hasn't been anything like it since. You're absolutely right.
That was a moment in time.
Listen, if you weren't there, you'll never know. And then remember, all these other types of things came up, like Smile Time, and I can't remember. There was a bunch of them that tried to take Blab's place. And
I left when I could see the writing on the wall when the tech was getting so bad. I went to, I can't even remember Fire Talk.
Fire Talk.
I went to Fire Talk. You could have your own channel on Fire Talk.
Yes.
I thought that was so cool. And you could have a video or a video playlist that played when you weren't live. It was really kind of an upscale experience coming off of all the issues with Blab, but they had no idea how to monetize it, and they were gone before you knew it.
None of these people know how to monetize it. That's why they keep closing. This is why nobody has an idea of how to monetize it. So this is what these platforms need. They need better money people, and they need psychologists because they don't know how to raise money and they don't know how to deal with people. So they need those people on their team.
Right. We've seen tools come along like StreamYard and Ecamm and BeLive and all that have been successful, but we haven't seen that platform that was its own unique ecosystem where you were creating inside the platform and you had a network inside the platform. You can do a little bit of that with StreamYard's on air, their webinar platform, but it's still very much on your own. I mean, it's still very much like you create the webinar, you invite the people that you want. There's really nothing where you go into where you go into the platform and there's this discovery and you connect, the platform's its own social network.
Yeah.
And it's dedicated toward live streaming and creation. You could say, well, Facebook has live streaming. Yeah, but the whole world is on Facebook.
I'm sorry. Let me fix my face because I'm just they've really become the master of none because they do a lot of things, but they don't do any one thing particularly well. They really should have been poised because remember, after Periscope debuted, the next one to come up live stream wise was Facebook Live, and then you had a whole and they really are in a unique position to do something. But I don't listen. It's not my platform. Do what you like.
Hey, if you want to spend a half an hour ripping on Facebook, I certainly have enough material.
Like you're a comedian. Wow.
Yeah, but you're right. They wanted to become the internet. They wanted to become one stop for everything. So they wanted to challenge YouTube. Remember, they were trying to be the place where you put your videos and your playlists and all.
Yeah.
They're trying to be everything. They tried to do podcasting and nobody even noticed. And, they were doing social audio they've tried everything.
I loved the social audio, and not the social audio, but the audio that they had prior to the social audio. Remember where you could do a podcast so you didn't have to get gussied up and you could just have your voice? Right. Facebook had that first. And then they said, we don't want it. We're letting it go.
Right.
You didn't give it time to develop. I'll keep quiet.
Okay.
Terry Johnson has a bunch of things that remember
Smile
Time. Blue Jeans.
I used Blue Jeans. That's where I went after Fire Talk.
Okay, after Fire. Huzzah. I used Huzzah with Joe Wilson in there.
I did a couple of shows on Huzzah.
Okay.
I was a guest on Huzzah a bunch of times. So I'm familiar with it,
I'm sure people are
but that came and went quickly.
Absolutely. It really did. Terry also says Facebook wanted to be AOL, a walled garden. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the food plane has a question. And I knew I could count on you for a question, Diaz. He asks, will TikTok be around next year in its current form? Ross Brand, go.
Well, what do you mean by current form? Do you mean with the same ownership and the same everything? Or
Mm.
do you mean with just the same features? I think if they get an American buyer for it and all that, then there's a chance it'll be around in the same form with the same features, although probably an algorithm that differs, right?
Oh,
What gets highlighted and all that. The propaganda
absolutely.
and all that stuff that's there, and the dangerous challenges that are aimed at kids and look, like, it's a very complicated issue, and then get into the politics of it all, and I see kind of both sides of it, which you're never supposed to do these days. But I think it'll still be around. I think it's just too valuable a property with too many users that somebody will grab it up probably. But I don't have a strong feeling of what it's going to become.
Yeah, and I'll answer that in just a moment, DS. I just wanted to take some things over on Instagram. So Miss Bespoke said, and Clubhouse had so much potential, so much potential, but too many bugs and zero privacy. And here's the thing, we were groundlings, right? Remember the groundlings in old theater? Or
Right.
we were chop liver. Okay, let's put it in modern terms. Chop liver. They were really concerned about drawing notables and celebrities, like a lot of people are, but they're not the ones that are going to float your platform, my dear. It's us. It's those of us who actually use the platform, who see the utility in it, because celebrities will come and go. Look how many people were on Instagram during the pandemic, right? Everybody was there. And I realized things opened back up. So, but they just told the rest of us, see ya. But we formed a parasocial relationship with you. Where are you going?
Right,
Come
right.
back. Come back. And they were, it's that type of thing. So I think that was also part of Clubhouse's problem. The fact that they were too beholden to celebrity and notables, and they gave, and I saw it with my own eyes, they gave preferential treatment to certain creators over others, and creators that were making amazing stuff. But no, these are the people we want to support. No problem. We don't have to support you. And that's what these platforms need to realize as well, that just as much as we need you, you need us.
Right, right. I mean, Clubhouse could have been the closest thing to Blab. I mean,
It,
it had some of those ingredients. And
yeah.
and I do not want to put down the audio. Like I say, I came from radio. I love doing audio only content and being on audio only shows. Um, but there was something about it that wasn't Blab, and I think a part of that was not being able to see people's faces, or not being able to talk to them. Even if, imagine Blab but no images, right? Because you could go audio only on Blab. You could turn your camera off. Imagine Blab no images. It's still a more natural flowing conversation. When I'm in the social audios, it feels too much like you're waiting online to talk, and then you have so many people come in, they're going to get their say, they're going to leave. It's a very hard thing to host those well, I think. And
It
I
is.
just I feel, I don't know. I went one where the topic got me interested, and I think I was in there for like 4 hours just listening, and I'm like, well, that was really too much time to spend for the few nuggets along the way, right?
Absolutely, because the thing is, those types of things are really very addictive, right? And so you get into a conversation and you stay there. I remember my very first Clubhouse room there was this whole controversy about David and saying something to the Asian community. So I ended up co-hosting a room, and we were on for like 8 hours. I'm like, I have just spent a full work day on
Right,
this.
right.
And so there's some utility there, because there is something about the human voice. There's something about audio that really draws people in, particularly for people who are camera shy. So it's useful for that. But I think that, a lot, it's not just them. Many apps go beyond the utility of it because they're also trying to make money, which I understand, but
I think we all have a limit on how many connections we can keep up with in
yeah.
groups and people and shit. Like, it's very hard to like. It just seems like it's one of those things that when I signed up for it, the notifications were going off, and I was having to say no more than I could say yes. And eventually, I just said, you know what, I'm not sure this is for me right now.
Absolutely. Let me greet some more people. D Tuggle has joined. Hello, hello, hello. Randy, tell us more about this. There's a petition. If you don't know, Randy was on CIS Hawaii. So tell us more about the petition. He said, sign the petition if you can. Please let us know. I'd love to know more about that. Sri is here. Sri Srinivasan, who is the founder and host of the New York Times Read Along, which I watch every Sunday. It's an amazing show. If you like the New York Times and you like great conversations, definitely be in there. In fact, this past Sunday, who was the guest this past Sunday? Sri, remind me, because I'm mixing everything together. But so good to see you, Sri. Yay. Fantastic. So Marisa Tigney says Facebook Live is like that middle school dance where it's guys on one side, girls on the other, and a whole lot of awkwardness. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Carolina is here. I always call you Carolina, but I think you say Carolina. Also, Miss Bespoke says, yet another platform that ignored the feedback of their users. They all do. They all do, with the exception of a few. I have to say that, for example, StreamYard, they were very receptive. Gage and Dan were very receptive to that. DJ SK says, it's the old cliche. Support your friends like you support the celebrities that don't even know you exist. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Also, there was a lot of beefing going on Clubhouse, which was a mess, says D Tuggle. It was. Who has time to sit there and beef? Eat a hamburger if you want beef. Nonsense. Absolutely. So I think I got all of the questions. So Food Plane says this, I assume if it's gone, talking about TikTok, then it will come back under a different name. What do you think?
Well, again, are you saying that the TikTok that exists now, okay, so somebody else will create it, you mean? Create something similar?
I think he means if it gets acquired that they may change the name.
Oh, yeah.
Correct me if you're wrong. If I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I understand that's probably, I don't know whether they'll change it. You know what? I really don't know. I gotta say, I'm not a huge TikTok user, so I don't have a good sense for what would be the right thing for them to do. So I have trouble offering an opinion on TikTok.
See, I was a rather big TikTok user. Just like Snapchat was my jam. I used to love Snapchat. So, but then I kind of it fell off by the wayside.
Snapchat from day
really
one. Like like there's just certain things that just I seem like I like everyone and everything, and I'm really nice, but they're like certain things that just don't work for me. And Snapchat, I despised from the beginning, and I tried for a month or two, and then I never used it again. I just didn't like it.
So you have to go with what works for you. I think sometimes people feel that you have to be on everything and you don't. If it doesn't work for you, okay. And I know the big thing is people say, oh, well, TikTok, the algorithm pushes your stuff out more. It's easier to get found. It's easier to go viral, et cetera, et cetera. But then here's the thing, and I'll say this. So my thing in going on any platform is I want to live stream. That's usually what I want to do. And so I wanted to live stream on TikTok because I'm like, it could probably garner some whatever. But then you had to have 1,000 followers, right, in order to do that. I did not, and I was not trying. However, then they started, those grow rooms that they had where you would come in there and then people would follow. So I did that. And within 2 days, I had the 1,000. So I went live.
I never heard of those.
Yeah, they're grow rooms. So if you go on TikTok, there are a lot of grow room hosts, and their main thing is for everybody to grow their followers, right? For whatever it is. So there are a lot of grow hosts. One I know, Curly Gingy, she's a big one. And so it's to grow your following basically, and that makes you eligible for more things. And so you go in these rooms and there are things going on, usually they are talking, they're offering some value, but then it's like, all right, well, such and such gave me a heart, everybody make sure you follow such that type of thing, or such and such responded, so
which
you
is
grow
very
that way.
against the culture of YouTube and LinkedIn and a lot of the other platforms. I guess my only question with that is it like inflation? Like if everybody's got 1,000 or 2,000, or like, I know you get more view, a lot of people get more views, but if everybody's getting a lot of views, what is it actually worth? Like I know people who've been on TikTok and they've built followings of 40, 50,000, and they've gotten massive views, and then they go, you know what? After doing this for a couple of years, I've had not one thing that ever helped my business or led to a relationship or anything important in my life. I'd rather do Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever and have 30 people view my video, but maybe one of them becomes a client or sends me a lead or something like that.
Exactly. TikTok is really entertainment. Forget about the fact that there are other things going on there.
It's not a social network. You're absolutely right. It's an entertainment network.
Absolutely. And so with this, I did get it, and I went live, and I was like, and then I noticed the people that, I did the follow thing. I'm like, these are not the people I want to follow. These are not my tribe. I was like, you're live streaming about what? So then I was like, oh, so I haven't really live streamed. I've done 2 live streams, but it's not my jam. Some people love it and that's their jam. It just really depends on where your tribe is, where your people are.
Absolutely.
So let's continue on because we have a little more time.
Okay.
I want to get into your book, but first, Ms. Bespoke says, if IG ever allows you to post a picture or video less of just text, they'll be the number one. So right now for her, it's Twitter. Okay. So she's one of the people that has not jumped ship with Twitter yet. Also, Voicer is here. What's up, Voicer? It is good to see you. Let's see what's happening over on the other side. So Terry Johnson says a public-private app. They love it. Talking about TikTok, I think. And Terry Johnson says Snapchat is a Gen Z playground. Yeah, you know what? They made so many changes after a while because I was doing a lot. Like all the stories, Snapchat came up with stories. They just did not trademark it. So now everybody has access to it. So, after a while, I was like, this is a lot to produce a lot of snaps every day. So I stopped doing it. But
the funny thing is because I hated Snapchat so much. I hated the features. I hated everything. And then oh, Instagram added stories. How interesting. Let me try that. It's like different environment, different audience, different culture of the platform. Okay. Absolutely. Although I got to say, I've moved away from, I was always kind of an Instagram first, right? Like send me a picture, I'm going to post it on Instagram. And I realized that Instagram doesn't have to be the place. You can put pictures. I mean, I've always put visual stuff on everything, but I don't spend as much time on Instagram as I used to. I made this year my LinkedIn first year. I said, I'm finally going to give LinkedIn a real try. And I started a LinkedIn newsletter. And so when I get an image, like say you sent me the image for tonight's show.
Yes.
Well, you sent me one that was a video with music. So that one did go on Instagram because it could be a reel, right? And that's kind of
right.
Cool. But,
exactly.
But I've training myself now that instead of getting that image and going, first we'll post it on Instagram because that's where images go, and then we'll post it on Facebook and maybe Twitter, and if time allows, maybe I'll throw it on LinkedIn to cover all my bases. I'm saying I'm going to put it on LinkedIn first, and I'm going to make an effort create the post for LinkedIn. Don't just copy when you get tired of doing original posts, copy the last one, throw it on LinkedIn. So I'm just spending more time on LinkedIn, and I'm going to decide after the end of this year or whatever, is LinkedIn a platform where I should put more attention, or am I just spinning my wheels being on there? But if I never give it that kind of attention, I'll never really find out.
You'll never know.
That's my LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn first year. Yeah, all the posts. And trying also, like when I go on social, instead of scrolling pictures on Instagram, which is the easiest way to waste time when you're
Yes.
consuming, which I'm not a
Yes.
huge consumer, trying to go to LinkedIn to consume. And if I read something interesting, maybe comment on it or share it, or, you know, let's just say it's an interesting experience compared to the other social networks.
Absolutely. So we'll talk a little bit more about your LinkedIn strategy and things in a moment, but let's go to the book. Another
Okay.
reason that I wanted to talk to you is because you've been doing these series. Now, this is a transparent thing, so there we go. It's that actually looks kind of cool.
Hey.
Yeah, that's actually kind of cool. All right. We're used to things being but big, but that was actually kind of cool. So 100, let's put it back up again, simply because I want to see this again. But 100
Wait,
live
if I
streaming.
move over here and you move the other way, we can
I moved
talk
the other
around
way.
the
There
book.
we go. There we go. 100 live streaming and digital media predictions by Ross Brand. Tell us a little bit about this book. First, is this the fifth?
This is the fourth book, but the
Fifth.
9th year of doing predictions. The fourth one
Wow.
in book form.
So tell us a little bit about this book and what's inside.
Okay, so I've said before, you've probably heard me say, for this book, if this was the first book, it would be called 100 Artificial Intelligence and Digital Media Predictions, because so much of the focus of this year's book is on AI and AI tools. People got into it a little bit last year, but now we have much more of a handle on how people can use it and what they're projecting is going to happen with it. That being said, while it felt like the book was a major break from the previous ones because of all the emphasis on AI, I think a lot of what we talked about in the prior book in volume 3 remains trends worth focusing on as well. But the overwhelming idea really is AI right now. I mean, it's just how are you going to adapt to it? How are you going to use it? Is it helpful? Is it not helpful? Will it replace your job? Can you get on the other side of it? And are you going to be the boss of it, or is it going to be the boss of you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what are some of the predictions in there that you see are coming true? After all, this was predictions. And yes, I am chapter 1.
Right.
So when you pick up this book, you will see that my contribution is chapter 1. But what are some of the major predictions that resonated with you? Yes, there I am. What are some of the major predictions that resonated with you, and what are you starting to see come true or come to fruition?
I want to mention your prediction because you talked
Okay.
about AI video in yours, and I was wondering what you're thinking of AI video so far. It just isn't there yet, if you ask me.
It is not there yet, but the advent of Sora really shows what is possible. And even Sora is not there yet. And for those of you that don't know Sora, that is the video AI video creation app from OpenAI, the same people that do Chat GPT.
Oh,
And
wow.
look it up, and you'll see a very photorealistic set of videos that it's been able to create. It's not there yet, but they're working really hard on it because AI is the buzzword of the year. It will be the buzzword of next year. It will be the buzzword for years to come because this is also transformed. Remember, I think I talked about this with you all, the fact that Tyler Perry said, well, no need for me to expand my studio. Sora's here. And so he's not putting money into expanding his studio in Atlanta because of the fact that he saw what Sora can do. So
Right.
I think as AI video gets better, we'll see a lot more of it because I was watching what came on the other day, Star Wars Phantom Menace, because remember, it was just the 4th of May. So may the 4th be with you. So
Right.
they had a whole day of Star Wars movies. I watched the Phantom Menace and I looked and I'm like, wow, this CGI looks so elementary compared to what could be. It's interesting.
Right. Yeah, I think where we're at with the video is kind of where we were at with photos maybe 3 to 6 months earlier, right? Like I've actually been fooled by a photo a couple times where just if I look closely, I could tell that a photo is an AI generated image. But if I don't look closely, there are times where I could take it for granted that it's a photo if my brain isn't filtering it through like, hey, this could possibly be AI. So I don't know how far we are with that, with, you know, individuals, playing people, you know, AI bot playing people. I saw one company do something with news anchors, and
Yes.
it was very obvious that well, first of all, they programmed them not to speak like news anchors because I think it was, you know, tech people who created this. They all sounded like they were giving Silicon Valley keynotes, right? Like they were giving the Apple keynote or whatever. Like that's not how news people present information. So that was one thing that fell short. But it just seemed obvious that it still seemed too mechanical to be real. And I mean, I see videos on YouTube where, you know, the narration, like it'll be like a video that's commenting on clips of another video, but the narration in between will be done by AI. And it's just the way certain words are pronounced, where the pauses are, it's just not quite there yet. But what you can do with it, if you combine the human and the, you know, if you edit it right as a human, you could really create, you know, movies and videos and podcasts with people who aren't around anymore, taking their voices and bringing them back to life and having them speak the dialogue.
And that's actually the problem.
Right.
That's the problem. A lot of these people's estates are looking like, I can't remember who it is, where they had the problem where they were going to do that. And they're like, no. So that's going to serve to be a problem as well.
Right.
Yeah,
a lot of issues around it.
Lots of issues. We have a few questions before we wrap up. So I'm glad you all are coming up with the questions. So Terry Johnson asked this: does Ross still recommend the Samson Technologies Q2U microphone as a starter mic?
I still do. I still have it here somewhere, and
that's what I'm using right now.
Yeah, it's a great sounding mic, and it's very affordable, but it's a legitimate microphone, entry level microphone. You can use it USB, or you can use it with a professional connection, XLR. And then if you decide to move to a studio style mic at some point, it's still a great second mic, guest mic you can take with you and do handheld interviews. I think, you know, what you get for the price. If price is no object and you want a USB mic or a USB mic that has XLR for live streaming and podcasting, and you're going to be mostly at a desk, then the Shure, I think it's MV7, is probably the best sounding broadcasting mic, style mic that I've heard that's USB. But the difference in price is so big that even as good as the MV7 is, get started with the smaller investment, the smaller footprint of the Samson Q2U, and then you can get a more inexpensive boom arm, because if you get a heavy mic, then you need a whole much more sturdier boom arm or stand to put it on. So there's other expenses that come with it. So I'd say start with that mic, and then when you really get comfortable and you feel your content's coming along, then you can always say, okay, I'm ready to move to the next level. But let your content kind of dictate when you're ready. You can't beat that. I have recommended that mic to so many people, and I have never had anybody say to me, boy, I'm disappointed in that.
Absolutely. I think you were actually the one that I have like 10 million mics, and including a Shure that I've just been too lazy to set up. I like this. It's also, you know, from, in my experience, what mic works well with your voice. So I've done like the Yeti, the Blue Yeti. Awful. It does not like my voice. It's a paperweight now that I'm trying to sell.
It's a good door
So
stopper too.
it's because it's so heavy. It is so heavy for no reason. So,
It's a
any
little too
case,
sensitive. It picks up too much background noise and stuff. It's not a terrible mic for everybody, and when you set it up right, but it just why pay double or triple for the Yeti when the Q2U? The minute you plug it in, your room just got quieter and your voice more present. So
exactly.
it does exactly what you want a mic for this type of use to do.
Exactly. I'm in a huge room and you don't hear the echo at all.
Right.
So, absolutely. Let's see. So, we do have a question from Marisa, and she asks, what is the common or what are the common misconceptions that are said about live streaming?
Well, I mean, I think if you only look at from the news point of view of, bad news sells and whatever, then, you know, people think of live streaming as people doing crazy things and, all sort of from driving and streaming and causing accidents to, streaming when you're when you're drunk and saying something that pisses your employer off, or I think we have a lot of examples in the culture of people doing bad things, but live streaming is it can be everything from a tool that you use in business to a social tool to a way to get your family and friends together, and also to host shows on topics of interest. Really, you're doing talk radio with a webcam, like we said in the beginning. So I think it's a wonderful medium, but I think the misconceptions are that it's something people think of the troublemakers who use it, and the bad things. Somebody live streamed a crime, or live streamed acting carelessly, recklessly. That's kind of the downside. I mean, the other thing is, there's Tachi and I are in the sort of, I call it the talk show niche, right? Yeah. There's also the gamer niche, and that has a huge following, and they're usually on the cutting edge of the tech because they're on all the time and all that.
Right.
But that's not a world that I'm that familiar with. I don't have a problem with it. I don't have anything really super positive because I'm just not a part of it. So to some people, perhaps live streaming is gaming, and that's, like I say, I can't comment on that because it's just not something that I do or spend time with.
Absolutely. Ms. Bespoke just has a thought. I'm curious how deepfakes are going to be used in the next 6 to 12 months. We all know what that's in reference to. Also, Jawaru Gambian asks, how, and this will be our final question, how is AI different from good CGI?
What is CGI?
Sorry?
What is CGI?
Oh, sorry, computer generated images. So yeah.
You need to ask somebody a lot more technical than me. You probably have a better handle on that than I do.
Yeah, you know what? Well, the major difference is that AI is real. You really don't have to. Well, no, let me revise that. AI works off of prompts. So unless you're building like an AI system, you're not necessarily coding or doing anything. So AI is working off of prompts, whereas CGI, you actually have to physically code and do all of that stuff and understand and know. So it's a little bit different in that way. So if you become a good prompt engineer, meaning you come up with prompts that are going to like that, whatever Sora is, that's a heck of a prompt. And it was very detailed and very specific. All the details were in there, and that's how detailed you have to be. So if you're a good prompt engineer, you're using words to do that. Whereas you actually have to have a specific skill to do CGI, if that makes sense.
You don't need design skills to do AI art.
Correct.
You just need the prompt skills, and AI has to catch up, perhaps, depending on what your vision is. I did a logo for a new brand, and I had to go through a lot of them, and most of the time it spelled things wrong. So eventually I just like did an overlay on the graphic in Canva or whatever to get the right spelling. But even in the wrong versions, it's amazing. I couldn't do anything like that on my own. Like I couldn't get close to, I have no, I'm not an artist. I don't have that kind of design talent or whatever. And I just think it came out amazing. I had to go through a lot of iterations, and I found that the AI doesn't learn as quickly on the graphic side as it does on the text side. For like, the more I ask, the more I try and drill down, I don't necessarily get the problems created. They can sometimes get worse. But yeah, it's amazing what you can do without actually having to do more than put the words in to request. So yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that question was asked. I learned something.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, this was great. You are a permanent part of the show, so you are welcome to come back anytime. And I will ask you to come back. How can people get in touch with you? What's the best way?
So livestreamuniverse.com is because this is my LinkedIn first year. If you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's linkedin.com/in/RossBrand.
Fantastic. So livestreamuniverse.com or connect with Ross Brand on LinkedIn. Ross, you are absolutely amazing. Thank you so very much for gracing us with your time. I want to thank everybody that is on YouTube, everybody on Facebook, everybody that is on LinkedIn, on Instagram, the people watching over on Roku and the website indiezootmedia.com, and for everybody that's going to be listening tomorrow at 2 p.m. on Gospel 107.1 FM in the Caribbean. So that's about it. We've exhausted our time.
Wow. Thanks so much for having me. It's always fun. It's always such a natural conversation when I'm chatting about live streaming and media and tech with you. So I always enjoy it.
Yeah, no, this was definitely a conversation, and that's what I want. It's never an interview with us. It's always a conversation. So with that, my friends, we love you for watching. We bid you adieu. You guys, myself, Ross Brand, and all this great information. We're going to exit stage left. Until next week, cheers.
Close the doors, walk across the corridor. We got something to show you. Media is our repertoire. Fed up with the same news, no channel to use. Cruise control mentalities. Here we offer you. We gon' show you what you play. The content it never stays. More positive and uplifting. Once a week the scope's gifted. The zero buffet, hydration like Boucher.